Julian Ashworth had spent 3 long years pretending to be nobody, living a quietly reserved life while bearing the weight of a massive legacy beneath simple clothes and a subdued demeanor. But tonight, that carefully constructed facade was pushed to its breaking point. As they sat around the warm glow of an upscale engagement dinner, Elena's mother leaned forward with a look of utter disdain, scoffing openly about hiring a real wedding planner for someone who merely worked in a local warehouse, leaving Elena flustered and stammering in a futile attempt to keep the peace. Julian tried to gently diffuse the rising tension with a calm half-smile, offering that he didn't require an extravagant ceremony, only for Elena's father to cut him down with a smug chuckle, declaring that such modesty was certainly convenient given his complete inability to pay for one. The entire table erupted into quiet, condescending laughter, while Julian sat perfectly still at the center of the crowd, his expression unreadable as sidelighting caught his steady hand resting on his wine glass, completely untroubled by their mockery. They had no idea that the modest warehouse they held in such deep contempt was just one of 1,100 properties across the country owned entirely by his family, a secret he had guarded viciously just to see if love could survive without a title. He had deliberately allowed them to believe he was penniless, choosing to endure their sharp disrespect. But as the quiet hum of the restaurant faded around him, he realized that this single, painful choice was about to break the fragile bond he had tried so hard to protect. To truly understand why Julian chose to hide behind such an ordinary life, you have to look back at the suffocating world he desperately ran away from. Years ago, under the golden glow of his university campus, a younger Julian walked alone through falling cherry blossoms, haunted by the overwhelming weight of the empire his father had built from a single freight contract into Ashworth Global. By the time he turned 20, the family name had become a golden cage, ensuring that no one ever saw him for who he was, surrounded instead by classmates whose every smile carried a hidden price tag and whose every friendship was calculated for personal gain. Exhausted by the endless deceit, he stood in his grandmother's sleek executive office and demanded a way out, to which the formidable matriarch folded her arms and sternly challenged him to disappear without a name, an account, or a safety net just to see who would actually stay by his side. Driven by a quiet determination, Julian stepped away from the glass tower and vanished into the city dusk, shedding his status to embrace an ordinary life, eventually falling for a girl he believed loved him for his heart rather than his fortune, completely unaware of how quickly that belief would crumble. The first visible crack in their quiet life began on a cool evening inside Elena's apartment, as the distant city lights cast a chilly blue tone across the room. Frustrated and pacing back and forth, Elena confronted Julian about why he had turned down her father's offer for a warehouse supervisor position, unable to comprehend his calm refusal to settle for a job that didn't fit him. Her exasperation spilled over as she questioned how she was supposed to keep explaining his lack of ambition to her family, forcing Julian to stand straight and quietly ask if her main concern was truly him or just how they appeared to others. Caught off guard, Elena looked away, insisting she only wanted a better future for them, but the growing emotional distance between them in the dim lighting made the bitter truth obvious. She wasn't entirely lying about wanting a better life, but she was completely blind to the fact that the vast fortune she dreamed of was already sitting directly across the table. The fragile rift between them widened significantly at an outdoor garden party, where string lights glowed amidst an elegant crowd of high society guests. Marcus Hale made his entry, holding a drink with a smug smirk as he approached Elena to casually remark that she looked far too refined to be tying herself to a common warehouse worker. Though Elena flushed with embarrassment and attempted a half-hearted defense, Marcus smoothly leaned in closer, assuring her that he was merely being realistic before offering her a glimpse of real prestige and substantial event budgets through his family's influential company. With charismatic promises of access to a world she secretly craved, Marcus left her standing in the soft party glow with a deep seed of doubt planted firmly in her mind, forever altering the way she viewed Julian. Outside, rain streaked down the apartment windows under moody blue lighting as Elena, hands clasped in desperation, pleaded with Julian to take her father's job offer, only to be met with his firm and unwavering refusal. When she angrily accused him of simply being stubborn, Julian's tone softened with a conflicted intensity, warning her that there were deep truths about his life he had yet to reveal, truths that would change everything between them forever. Dismissive and tired of excuses, Elena scoffed that he had nothing to hide, blinding herself to the rare moment of vulnerability in his eyes and leaving him with the painful realization that she was no longer curious about his soul, just exhausted by his apparent failure. Closing his eyes in quiet resignation, Julian buried his secret once more, giving her one final, silent chance to choose him for who he was rather than the wealth he possessed, a choice she unknowingly threw away. The grand ballroom of the Ashworth Global Gala glittered under giant crystal chandeliers, surrounded by formal-wear-clad elites, completely unbeknownst to Elena that Julian had also made an appearance. Having skipped the annual event for years, Julian stepped through the high entrance doors in a sharp, tailored black suit, his composed presence immediately catching Elena off guard as she rushed over to frantically ask why a warehouse worker like him was intruding on an invite-only function. Marcus seized the moment with a condescending arm around her waist, mocking Julian before the surrounding guests by loudly wondering if he was merely someone's plus one or part of the waitstaff, drawing subtle ripples of cruel laughter from the crowd. Standing perfectly still while Elena pleaded with him not to embarrass himself, Julian offered no defense, quietly watching as the spotlight suddenly shifted toward the main stage to signal an announcement that would turn her condescension into instant regret. Silence swept across the expansive hall as grandmother Ashworth stepped up to the podium, illuminated by a brilliant overhead spotlight as she addressed the elite crowd. Her commanding voice echoed through the speakers, expressing a rare gratitude for a man who usually avoided such grandiose displays. Before formally announcing her grandson as the incoming CEO of Ashworth Global, Julian Ashworth. A blinding beam of light shifted instantly to lock onto Julian, exposing his calm, unbothered composure while the surrounding guests erupted into stunned, disbelieving murmurs. Elena's hand trembled so violently that her wine glass slipped from her fingers, shattering on the cold floor as Marcus paled beside her, stammering in horror as the realization of Julian's true identity sank in. Walking right past Elena with a cool, sharp profile, Julian looked back just long enough to deliver a final, chilling answer to her past doubts, leaving her frozen as 3 years of quiet disguise unraveled in a matter of seconds. Out on the marble steps of the gala hall, a cold night rain slicked the ground, reflecting the icy blue streetlights as Elena chased after Julian with desperate speed. Soaked by the downpour, she called out to him, frantically claiming that she would have acted differently had she known the truth, but Julian turned back with an unwavering composure that chilled her to the bone. Quietly, he made her realize that her failure to see his worth without a bank account attached to his name was the real issue, cutting through her tearful pleas of past love by pointing out that she had only fallen for the idea of him once a grand title was attached to his image. Standing in the falling rain as an insurmountable distance opened up between them, Elena felt the crushing weight of his words, realizing too late that some people never appreciate what they have until it appears on a company letterhead. A month later, sunlight streamed into the executive office of Ashworth Global, illuminating the sleek city skyline through floor-to-ceiling windows. Marcus walked in with a tight, forced smile and a nervous posture, offering grand congratulations to Julian, who sat behind a dark wood desk with absolute composure. Cold and resolute, Julian made it clear that this meeting wasn't personal, it was purely business, as he slid documents forward showing that Marcus's company contract was under review and lacked the necessary numbers for renewal. Seething with hidden rage, Marcus leaned over the desk to bitterly accuse Julian of orchestrating a personal vendetta over Elena, but Julian remained entirely unmoved, calmly stating that the decision was driven solely by performance. Defeated and stripped of his arrogance, Marcus turned and walked out into the quiet hallway, realizing that Julian didn't need revenge to ruin him. Truth and standards were more than enough. If this story resonated with you, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and ring the notification bell so you never miss the next chapter of Julian's journey. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Did Julian make the right choice by walking away, or should he have given Elena another chance? Thanks for watching and stay tuned for episode 2 coming soon.